We appreciate your time. We wanted to get everybody together today just to kind of send the message of how important we think religious liberty bills are. And sometimes in past sessions, these issues may have come up late in session, or there may not have been much cohesiveness or unity about which bills we're working on or the method we're going about to get these bills passed. And so some of us have started in the interim to really get together and say we want a member-driven effort to make sure that religious liberty bills are at the forefront of the next session, that we have a strategy, that we're working together, and that other members know what's going on. So I'm pleased to be standing here with many of my colleagues today. We're honored to be joined by many of our partners as well, Texas Values, Texas Equal Forum, Concerned Women for America, and others, who have really come together today to say religious liberties are at the bedrock of what our state and our country were built on, and we want to make sure that we are protecting those, preserving those, and advancing those liberties as much as possible. So you're going to hear from many of my colleagues today in the House and the Senate about different religious liberty bills that they're working on that address a wide range of issues and topics, and I think you'll enjoy hearing from them on what they're working on. We want to start off with Senator Charles Perry, and he's got to get back over to a hearing on the Senate side, so we wanted to make sure he had a chance to go.
Thank you guys for being here today, and I appreciate the turnout. I filed Senate Bill 651 to basically give a defense mechanism for those that are subject to professional licensing requirements or state licensing requirements, that if they are exercising their faith in the duties of performing that licensure requirements, that they couldn't lose their license. To be clear, they still can be sued. They could still be fired. They could still have to find another place of employment if the employer decides that that's not the right method. But at the end of the day, practicing my faith as whatever profession I chose should not be at risk of losing my livelihood going forward. So SB 651, plain and simple, gives a licensure the right to defend his faith at a hearing process. It sets up a defense going forward if challenged for a discriminatory practice.
But we've seen this in other states. There's some very well-known national stories that have happened where people have come under government sanction, been sued just for conducting their business as their sincerely held religious belief would call upon them to do. And part of the effort here in the Capitol this session is to ensure that those sincerely held beliefs will not be infringed, and they will be able to continue to live out their faith in the public square and in their private lives as well.
Thank you. Good to see everyone. I'm going to speak about the HOME Act, which is HB 1805. Faith-based organizations have played a vital role in serving our nation's orphan and needy children since America's founding, and this legislation protects their operations. At risk are 25% of placement agencies in the state of Texas, our state. And HB 1805 will help ensure they stay operating in Texas. States without these protective measures have had organizations cease to operate, placing more demands on local and state governments.
Belief. My bill, House Bill 522, will correct that, not by removing the statute, but by cleaning it up so that it fits what the members were told they were passing when they enacted the statute. It would remove the bar that says you are only protected on a religious display attached to the front door, and it would remove the bar on religious displays unless they are made of materials approved by the Homeowners Association. And it further would state that the provision that says a homeowners association may take down anything that contains language, graphics, or displays that is patently offensive to a passerby include for reasons other than its religious content. It is time that the homeowners of this state are restored to their First Amendment and their God-given right to display their faith as they see fit. And I'm hoping that my colleagues here are as committed as I am to make sure that that happens this session. Thank you very much.
Part of this, it's very important to each one of us. I'm Representative Dan Flynn, represent House District 2, and I have filed House Bill 1813 to honor and enforce the ability that Texans have to exercise religious freedoms within this state and the country. This bill will enforce those freedoms in giving both certified officials and county clerks the right to decline to conduct the marriage ceremony if that ceremony impedes on their religious beliefs. Our country was built on the grounds of religious freedom, among others, and it is my goal to continue ensuring that our state legislature ensures that those freedoms will be upheld. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Churches in Texas have a right to defend themselves against violence and theft. However, state law as currently written prevents churches from doing just that. That's why I filed House Bill 421, a bill which I'm working on with Representatives Leach, Krause, and Schaefer, which would remove these burdensome and senseless regulations imposed by the Texas Occupational Licensing Code. Current Texas law requires that a church, temple, or synagogue with an organized voluntary security patrol be licensed as a guard company. This requires at least 40 hours of training, plus associated licensure and course fees. Additionally, each member of a team would need a background check, fingerprints, and annual recurring training. Conduct prohibited without that license potentially includes preventing entry or trespass, observing or detecting unauthorized activity, or directing the movement of vehicles or people on private property. As you can see, that's quite broad. This could expose somebody engaging in activity as harmless as collecting tickets at a door for a church play, directing traffic, or observing vehicles in a parking lot, to penalties up to $10,000 fine to the church and the individual. House Bill 421 removes churches from the jurisdiction of the Private Security Act, allows congregants to organize to provide voluntary security patrols in defense of their houses of worship. It gets the government out of the business of regulating church security, removes the risk of churches unintentionally subjecting themselves to heavy fines for everyday conduct, and could save a church from spending thousands of dollars on training and licensing. And I'm urging all of my fellow members to co-author this important legislation in defense of our churches.
So I think you're going to see a real push this session on religious liberty legislation. We already have some filed to protect those who go to colleges and universities to express themselves in the way they want to believe. Representative Shaheen, I know, is filing, or going to file a bill in regards to this as well. So, but we wanted to show today that this has been an effort to show, be proactive and show a sign of importance in how we feel in the Senate and the House that religious liberties are to us. And you'll notice we had Second Amendment bills, we had HOA bills, we had licensing bills, we had clerks and magistrates, we had people from all over the spectrum, from the individuals we had that aren't elected officials, we had small business owners, judges, we had pastors. And so religious liberty is not something that's pigeonholed to Sunday inside the walls of the church. It's how you live your life outside the walls on an everyday basis, no matter what you're engaged in or where you find yourself. And that's why you see all these different religious liberty bills from these different corners, these different facets of our livelihoods here in Texas. And so